You don't need to overhaul your life overnight. You don't need a new city, a new job, a new relationship, or some loud breakthrough. What you need is consistency in the quiet habits that speak for you when you're too tired to explain yourself. This isn't about perfection, this is about power. Yours. Start by getting up on your terms, not the world's, not your inboxes, not the voice of urgency screaming from your phone. When your feet hit the floor in the morning, let your mindset follow. You're not chasing the day, you're leading it. Mastering discipline starts with small daily decisions. Every single morning offers a chance to lay the foundation for everything that follows. When you choose to rise before the demands of other people or the demands of your devices, you're signaling to your own potential that you matter. You're showing up for yourself first, and that's the most powerful message you can deliver. That moment when your alarm goes off and your finger hovers over the snooze button is the crossroads between habit and stagnation. Choose purpose over comfort, even when blankets beg for one more minute. Choose action over inertia, even when your mind reminds you that rest feels easier. That first choice cascades through your day. It affects the way you approach tasks, respond to challenges, and treat other people. If you decide to greet the morning with determination, you're also deciding to greet your responsibilities with energy. You're deciding to show up to commitments with attention. You're deciding that the promises you make to yourself about finishing that project, sending that message, and rolling in that course are meaningful, regardless of who sees them or when you cross the finish line. But discipline isn't born from intention alone. It evolves through repetition. It's shaped when you honor your word to yourself consistently. When you tell yourself you'll go for a walk and you lace up those shoes daily. When you vow to hydrate and that water bottle comes along everywhere. When you claim you'll carve out reading time and you pick up a book instead of scrolling. Over and over again, those behaviors forge a character rooted in follow-through. And each time you turn a promise into practice, your psyche gains a little more trust in your own reliability, a trust that ripples outward into relationships, careers, and creative endeavors. Those small decisions look modest, choosing fruit over chips, turning down late-night scrolling, writing 3 lines of reflection before bed, but collectively, they become powerful. Those minute adjustments and daily rhythm open doors to places you didn't realize you cared about. They signal discipline to your subconscious, and that discipline delivers clarity. With clarity comes momentum. Momentum invites progress. Progress breeds satisfaction. Satisfaction fuels further discipline. That loop is critical. You can't fake it until you make it, but you can build it one steady habit at a time. Let's talk about the pressures that creep in when we let decisions slip. Imagine you always go through your to-do list late in the afternoon, when energy's low and focus fragments easily. You promise yourself 30 minutes to address that thing, but you feel too tired, so you push it to tomorrow. Tomorrow becomes a pattern, tasks amass, anxiety grows, you feel stuck. Now flip the script, you decide to tackle one small item first thing. Maybe it's responding to a short message, or jotting a sentence. You get it done. You breathe a little easier, the rest of the list feels lighter, you move into your routine with more ease and presence. Discipline in that moment dismantles resistance and fosters flow. Your mind is wired for ease, and it's full of voices eager to convince you to settle. That's why making the right choice when everything's silent matters. If you confront that resistance early, it grows weaker. If you feed into it, it strengthens. The fight isn't always loud. Sometimes it's whispering thoughts like you don't have time, you'll start later, or you'll feel better in a bit. But those whispers accumulate. Every yield chips away, but every refusal builds. Choosing to show up even when speaking to yourself in the morning feels tiresome is an act of allegiance to your own ideals. Let's break it down. You don't need a dramatic overhaul, you need consistency. Make one simple pledge. Set a time for wake-up that prioritizes your own rhythm over noise. Keep it for days, then weeks, then months. Integrate a second small decision, maybe move your body for a short while, or smile into a mirror, or give thanks for what carried you here. Those tiny shifts align internal and external intention. When you habitually practice self-kindness and personal accountability, you damp down guilt. Guilt flattens anxiety. Anxiety opens space for creativity. And creative energy transforms life quietly, steadily, intentionally. Without awareness, days drift, weeks slip. Life feels like spinning in circles, but with each intentional choice, you regain ground. You accumulate small wins. You build a rhythm that hums with consistency, discipline, progress. You stop battling external circumstances because you see your power in selecting your response. You stop waiting for an invitation to step forward. You propel yourself from private moments when no applause plays into public wins when those are deserved. But even more importantly, you cultivate respect for the part of you no one else sees, the part that rises on time, moves intentionally, writes a few sentences, connects with purpose, chooses rest after work, and honors boundaries when everyone else says yes. That inner foundation becomes your superpower. At first it's invisible to the world. It lives in your laundry pile, inbox, daily rhythms, elbows in a chair. It shows up in emails sent on Tuesday morning before 9 a.m. It shows up in workouts when the sun's barely awake. It shows up in the journal entry you guard for 30 seconds before sleep. Other people don't notice. That doesn't matter. What matters is this: you notice. You know because you feel it. You feel sturdiness, concentration, a sense of drive. You feel capable. You feel safe in your own form because you're the friend who honors your voice too. As those small decisions accumulate, they remind you you are reliable. You are trusted. You can depend on yourself even when circumstances don't cooperate. That's invaluable. Facing a setback doesn't feel crushing because you've proven something. You bounce back. A hard conversation doesn't scare you because you've practiced showing up. A new project doesn't intimidate you because you know how to begin even when your confidence isn't fully present. This is why discipline isn't punishment. It's liberation. It's liberation from chaos, from dependency on mood, from guessing whether you'll deliver or not. It allows freedom within structure. And the paradox is rich. Structure gives space. Space produces creativity and peace. What feels tight on a calendar gives you room in your thoughts. What starts small expands into influence. The valedictorian grade, the sold-out workshop, the published chapter, they're rooted in forethought, exercised when no one is watching. So let's anchor into something tangible right now. Choose one action you've been avoiding. Just one. Maybe it's 5 minutes of deep breathing. Maybe it's reaching out to that person you meant to thank. Maybe it's jotting a half sentence of your vision. Maybe it's clearing the desktop. Choose it. Set a time today, and do it. Break the silence between intention and execution. That fracture is where potency lives. Every act of closing that gap strengthens the identity you carry, one who keeps word, even when trivial, because whispered consistency builds louder outcomes. In days to come, lean into that same energy. Decide what you need: peace, movement, quiet, contact, and give it to yourself. Again and again. Over time you'll feel magnetic attraction to your own rhythm. You'll hold clarity amid dizzying options. You'll notice an upward curve in personal growth. And you'll realize something essential: discipline doesn't demand zeal every minute. It only demands choosing, again and again, to show up for what matters, especially when it's simplest. Every moment offers ground. Every day is new life. And all of it starts with choosing yourself before everything else. In that place you uncover the power of possibility. The moment awareness expands, dialogue begins. Before the world interacts, before tasks accumulate, internal language quietly sets tone. How you engage privately influences how strength radiates outward. Dialogue within informs posture, decisions, emotional grounding. Words swirling beneath the surface carve emotional grooves, reinforcing either empowerment or erosion. Every quiet expression shapes the architecture of belief. If nurturing phrases plant roots early, confidence follows naturally. Yet, if silence is poisoned by harsh critique or comparison, foundation shakes even before sunrise. Imagine gently affirming presence while brushing teeth. Eyes meet reflection, not to criticize, not to scan imperfections, but to recognize presence. You're growing, whispered sincerely, cultivates patience. Try again today, whispered softly, invites perseverance. No camera records this moment. No one claps. Still, that simple acknowledgement becomes armor. Not the kind forged through defiance, but the kind built from deep assurance. You matter regardless of accomplishment. No one truly leads others until they've learned to lead themselves through thought storms. That begins not with control, but curiosity. Why did that disappointment sting? Why did hesitation creep in yesterday? Why did the compliment feel uncomfortable? Asking inward builds resilience. It invites transformation from within. So instead of demanding immediate change, listen first. Maybe what feels like procrastination is really fatigue. Maybe what looks like indifference is actually fear. Self-awareness births clarity, not criticism. Empathy must begin close to home. The words chosen while navigating mistakes teach more than lectures ever will. Responding to errors with gentleness redefines worth, no longer transactional, but unconditional. That doesn't mean lowering standards. It means rooting standards in humanity. You can challenge yourself without shame. You can strive while resting. You can push with kindness. Because self-talk isn't just reflection, it's rehearsal for interaction. No strategy outperforms a mind aligned with compassion, especially during chaos, during delays, during heartbreak, during the long in-between when progress feels invisible. The voice that encourages then, especially when circumstances test capacity, becomes life's truest support system. If that voice says you're still here, it anchors.
If it says you've handled worse, it stabilizes. If it says there's room to improve and grace to grow, it liberates. Cultivating that kind of inner communication doesn't happen by accident. It's a deliberate practice, like stretching before activity. Rewiring automatic responses takes repetition, not perfection. It might begin with pausing during spirals, with interrupting overthinking using one calm breath, with catching sarcasm aimed inward and replacing it with accuracy. Are you lazy, or just in need of rest? Are you incapable, or just learning something new? Challenge distorted narratives with truth, not toxic positivity, just facts grounded in your lived experience. One underrated habit involves addressing yourself as someone valuable. You wouldn't dismiss your closest friend's exhaustion, or tell her she's behind. You'd meet her with perspective, context, gentleness. Extend that same standard inward. Respect doesn't begin with outside validation, it begins with internal treatment. Carrying that dignity helps you enter environments from wholeness, not scarcity. The energy projected in difficult moments depends entirely on earlier preparation. If you've trained your inner voice to affirm worth, you're less likely to bend under external pressure. Criticism doesn't crush, it refines. Rejection doesn't define, it redirects. Uncertainty doesn't overwhelm, it invites creativity. But these reframes only emerge from habits built when stakes feel lower. That's the beauty. You don't need a stage to practice speaking life into yourself. Do it while folding clothes, while tying shoes, while driving. Make encouragement your native tongue, and over time, the tone shifts entirely. Instead of bracing against challenges with fear, you meet them grounded in belief. This doesn't mean arrogance, it means security. You walk differently when you know failure doesn't erase dignity. When you've taught yourself that falling short never erases value. Suddenly, asking for help becomes wise, not weak. Admitting gaps becomes smart, not shameful. Because your inner narrative isn't rooted in proving worth, but in expressing it. Language creates atmosphere. Whether internal or external, phrases build emotional climate. Cold phrases close hearts, even if only your own. Warm ones open space, even in solitude. Listen, I'm proud of the way I tried. I'm figuring it out. I'll make today meaningful, regardless of what happened yesterday. Sentences like these regulate nervous systems, boost focus, increase motivation. They soften tension without dismissing effort. They make discipline sustainable. People who consistently uplift others have often mastered uplifting themselves when applause was absent. That's why their encouragement carries weight. They've been in the valley. They've fought through fog. They've wrestled with harsh thoughts and chosen kindness anyway. Their ability to see light in others comes from daily decisions to seek it in themselves. This isn't fluff, it's mental training. Every supportive phrase sharpens leadership, strengthens resilience, expands capacity. So next time your instinct says, "That wasn't good enough," pause. Replace it. Try, "That was progress." Instead of "I never get it right," say, "I'm learning." Don't lie. Don't pretend you're perfect, but also don't lie and say you're worthless. Speak what's true, what's useful, what helps you continue. Every sentence that nourishes your own belief becomes a seed. Over days, weeks, years, those seeds grow into stability. Others can feel the second you walk into the room. A woman grounded in a kind inner world brings presence, not because she's loud, not because she demands attention, but because she doesn't seek permission to belong. She already decided she does. That decision radiates through posture, responses, effort, stillness. It impacts how she leads conversations, how she handles tension, how she extends grace to others without draining herself. That's why the voice within matters. It's the first voice heard in crisis, the last heard before sleep, the one running beneath every action, shaping tone, influencing reaction. Adjusting it requires commitment, but it's possible, and it's powerful, especially because the world is noisy with standards, opinions, expectations. Your internal narrative becomes your refuge, your compass, your filter. Train that voice to see possibilities, not limitations. Train it to celebrate effort, not only outcomes. Train it to notice beauty, especially in imperfection. And when difficulty arises, as it always will, watch how that training carries you. Watch how it allows you to respond thoughtfully, instead of react impulsively. Watch how it equips you to lead, not from fear, but from rooted conviction. You won't always feel confident. You don't need to. You only need to remember, certainty isn't required for courage. When the inside supports the outside, action follows, even with trembling hands. That's how legacies begin. That's how change is made. And it all starts from within.
Even silence needs safety. Personal peace never survives without protective structure. Guarded space fuels wellness, both physically and mentally. Without those invisible lines that define acceptable and unacceptable behavior, depletion is inevitable. Saying nothing while enduring discomfort doesn't create harmony, it creates emotional erosion. Inner chaos grows loudest when external environments remain unchecked. Boundaries aren't rejection, they're maintenance. They are blueprints for serenity, not blockades for affection. When you draw lines around your energy, time, and capacity, you're not pushing others away, you're pulling yourself closer to wholeness. That act is intentional preservation. Letting anyone or anything trespass across limits rewires your internal compass toward exhaustion. Diminishing returns appear where expectations override self-respect. That's when burnout creeps in, quietly, subtly, yet destructively. Strength shows up through restraint, not in pleasing everyone. Whenever you withhold a yes that jeopardizes your values, you affirm your worth. That discipline sharpens focus. That clarity saves your future self from regret. You aren't being difficult by declining unaligned invitations. You're being responsible. Not every call deserves an answer. Not every request needs your sacrifice. Not every conflict demands engagement. Saying no can be sacred. True relationships withstand boundaries. Real love respects parameters. Mutual understanding grows deeper when individuals know where one soul ends and another begins. Overextension harms connection more than distance ever will. Pretending availability when you're running on fumes leads to resentment. Giving beyond limit feels noble until depletion replaces compassion. Choosing deliberate rest unapologetically is honorable. Time becomes sacred when guarded intentionally. Not everyone should have instant access to your hours. Attention isn't infinite. Choosing where presence flows determines fulfillment. Protect morning routines. Protect personal rituals. Protect stillness. Disorganization in life often mirrors disorder in relational expectations. When everyone gets unlimited portions of you, there's none left for healing, reflecting, creating, or breathing. It's okay if not everyone understands. Their confusion isn't your burden. Their disappointment doesn't make your boundary wrong. Their reaction doesn't require reconsideration. Emotional equilibrium rarely aligns with people-pleasing. Trusting your inner signals is vital. Feeling uneasy after agreeing to something is a red flag. Ignoring discomfort to keep peace externally leads to internal unrest. Every person has different thresholds. What drains one might inspire another. Understanding your own capacity is an act of maturity. Comparing tolerances only fosters insecurity. Honor your energy's limitations without apology. It's not weakness, it's wisdom. Knowing what fuels versus what drains is insight cultivated through trial, awareness, and reflection. The key is staying consistent with enforcement. Boundaries require follow-through. Drawing lines is only half the equation. Defending those edges is where growth happens. That means having conversations that shake your voice. That means exiting circles that no longer align. That means letting silence stretch when guilt says speak. That means maintaining standards, even when it costs approval. Relationships based on performance crumble under the weight of authenticity. If you're only liked when agreeable, that's not affection, that's convenience. If your silence is praised more than your truth, something needs rebalancing. The courage to disappoint others in service of honoring yourself is liberation disguised as conflict. It's not confrontation for the sake of drama, it's alignment. Energetic health starts where constant access ends. When others know you'll always drop everything, they stop respecting your rhythm. Availability doesn't equal value. Overextending yourself doesn't ensure appreciation. People respect consistency far more than compliance. When your behavior teaches others that you uphold boundaries, they adapt. If they don't, that speaks louder than words. Letting go of people who require self-betrayal to keep isn't loss, it's necessary pruning. Not all connections are meant to continue indefinitely. Some are seasonal. Some served past versions of you. Growth sometimes reveals incompatibilities, and that's okay. Closure isn't always loud. Sometimes it's quiet decisions behind closed doors, like not returning the call, not accepting the invite, not defending your need for solitude. Freedom lives in structure. It sounds paradoxical, but the freest lives have scaffolding. Emotional freedom flows from environments where boundaries protect peace. Professional freedom thrives when calendars respect human capacity. Creative freedom explodes when distractions are blocked. Discipline with boundaries equals expansion everywhere else. Start small. Practice phrases like, "I can't commit right now," or "that doesn't work for me," or "I need space." Let those words feel clunky. Let them tremble off your lips. Let discomfort visit while you practice strength. The fluency of honoring limits builds over time. Each time you reinforce a line, you reinforce your own value. Your story doesn't require everyone's chapter. You're not selfish for declining invitations that dim your spirit. You're not rude for choosing quiet over chaos.
You're not antisocial for preserving energy. You're aware, you're intentional, you're clear, you're grounded, you're allowed to evolve, and when you do, the right people find you, the ones who don't just respect limits but admire them, the ones who celebrate your integrity, the ones who see your boundaries and still want in. Those are your people, and they only show up after the noise leaves. Trust that silence sometimes clears space for something more sacred. Boundaries are proof you believe in your future. You don't allow just anything into sacred places. You don't accept treatment that diminishes your light. You don't chase environments that confuse your intuition. Protecting yourself isn't rejecting connection. It's cultivating deeper, healthier, safer versions of it. You deserve interactions that energize, conversations that elevate, moments that replenish, spaces that feel nourishing, not draining. But none of that arrives without intention. You must advocate for it, create it, maintain it, and yes, defend it daily. When the world asks for more than you can give, pause, recenter, reevaluate, then choose wisely. Your well-being isn't negotiable, your essence isn't disposable, your dreams aren't optional, and your presence isn't limitless. Let boundary setting become second nature. Let your yes feel aligned. Let your no feel liberating. Let your decisions reflect belief in your worth. That kind of life, protected and purpose-driven, invites peace no permission slip can grant. No applause, no spotlights, no echoing cheers, only the quiet grind tucked behind curtains. Greatness rarely begins where attention flows. It ignites somewhere private, where consistency reigns above validation. In unseen effort lives transformation. Nobody witnesses the sleepless hours, the focused minutes, the tiny pivots that gradually alter everything. Each step taken alone carries momentum unmatched by fleeting praise. Private dedication builds internal muscle, resilience, adaptability, clarity. Every sunrise greeted with discipline rewires belief. Mornings shape progress long before outcomes surface. Patterns formed before anyone notices create a rhythm that later becomes impossible to ignore. Repetition, not reaction, carves legacy. Behind closed doors, choices stack, choosing discomfort over delay, clarity over distraction, ownership over excuses. These micro decisions birth the macro change admired by others later. No camera captures mental stamina, developed through saying, "I'll keep going one more time." No audience counts every commitment honored without shortcuts. But those moments shape character. When external motivation fades, purpose carries you. Identity rooted in personal accountability outlasts trends. Struggles navigated silently refine direction. Without needing external confirmation, self-led individuals keep building. No performance, just progression. No perfection, only forward. Without affirmation, their faith deepens. You'll often question whether it matters, whether another early rise, another focused session, another difficult choice makes a difference. And yet it does. Quiet investments become unshakable infrastructure. While others sprint loudly, steady movement in silence produces durable confidence. Speed impresses, endurance transforms, structure provides freedom. Systems cultivated without fanfare create spaciousness. Productive solitude becomes sanctuary. Habits developed away from crowds foster independence. Self-respect grows stronger every time you complete a task without reminders, recognition, or applause. Doing the right thing, even when nobody notices, forges a different kind of strength. The kind that can't be undone by criticism or shaken by approval. Discipline detached from outcomes empowers. Process becomes reward. Process teaches. Process recalibrates. Process simplifies complex goals into manageable, repeatable efforts. Outcomes shift. Trends change. But effort delivered daily underpins longevity. People often admire consistency once it's visible but forget that it grows patiently, underneath, without rush. The absence of recognition sharpens drive. You learn to show up because you said you would, not because someone is watching. You learn to listen inward instead of chasing reactions. You discover that confidence isn't loud, it's stable. Reliability to yourself builds quiet power. Every skill mastered started humbly. Practice, rehearsal, revision, failure, repetition. Over time, what once felt awkward becomes second nature. Talent without habit fades. But repeated application day after day turns potential into excellence. Small decisions become second skin through persistence. Distractions tempt constantly. Noise urges shortcuts. But fulfillment never arrives from skipping steps. The richness lives in following through, not once, not twice, but until it's embodied. Without needing reminders, you develop inner fire that replaces temporary sparks. Without broadcasting progress, you deepen commitment. Refinement happens when nobody claps. That's where intentions turn into habits, and habits build results. It's where mental chatter settles, and deeper focus emerges. You no longer chase peak productivity, you settle into flow. Through solitude, you find depth. Through effort, you build identity. Through routine, you shape freedom. Days blend. Some routines feel boring, some goals feel distant. But showing up, even when excitement vanishes, is what separates those who finish from those who fizzle. Showing up signals seriousness. You're not waiting to feel like it. You're training yourself to lead even through fatigue. Every repetition says, I'm in this for real. Not because it's easy, because it's aligned. Not because it's glamorous, because it's yours. Owning the effort builds trust internally. Nobody can take away what was earned privately. And nothing feels stronger than self-belief built through uncelebrated diligence. Solitude strips away performative layers. You stop trying to impress. You start choosing impact. When noise dies down, priorities emerge. You recognize what matters. You trim distractions. You focus on what creates momentum instead of what garners likes. You spend time with yourself and come out stronger. The most powerful foundation exists outside visibility. Those early hours, those unshared breakthroughs, those 10 minutes where you nearly gave up but didn't, those all count. They build something indestructible. They teach you how to self-regulate, self-correct, self-encourage. That's leadership. That's mastery. Patience becomes strength when urgency isn't the driver. You learn to respect timing. You build without rushing. That removes anxiety. That cultivates trust. You accept setbacks as detours, not dead ends. You recalibrate, not retreat. You endure, not escape. And somewhere down the line, when someone says you make it look effortless, you'll smile knowing that every effortless-looking moment was built on countless invisible hours filled with effort. That smile isn't arrogance. It's recognition. It's knowing. It's remembering. You did the work when no one asked you to. You kept promises that nobody else heard. You grew roots while others chased wind. And now, whether anyone claps or not, you've built something unshakable.